Hey, my name's Eamon, and for my object-oriented programming class in 2019, I created a game called Astrobugs. Based on the 1981 arcade classic Galaga, this game involves a ship flying through space and encountering deadly aliens. The game starts with a main, controllable ship and 3 extra reserves down the bottom left that serve as additional lives. The player can move left and right with the arrow keys and shoot a laser with the spacebar. The goal of the game is to survive and achieve the highest score by shooting the enemies. Different enemies have different flight patterns and are worth a different number of points. The further the player gets into the game, the more difficult it becomes as more enemies are able to spawn. Let's have a look at some of the design behind the game. To start with, let's look at the enemies. Here's some code for the enemy class. Each enemy can operate with a movement pattern and can also be told to perform a specific action, such as shooting a laser or swooping the player. Each enemy is part of a swarm of other enemies of the same type. Each swarm has a class that spawns the enemies in a specific way, keeps track of them, and tells them what to do. Here's an example of the spawning for the blue enemies, which choose a random side of the screen to start on. The swarms are controlled by a swarm controller. The swarm controller decides when to spawn new enemies and also takes care of cleaning them off the screen when the game is over. When it wants to spawn a new swarm, it asks the swarm factory to create one. There are 5 different types of enemy swarms in the game. Green, which start at the top of the screen and slowly traverse downwards. Blue, which fly around, shoot, and occasionally swoop at the player. Orange, which circle in groups of 3 while shooting at the player. Purple, which I think are the most deadly because they move fast and can be really tricky sometimes. And finally, red, which is my personal favourite. The way they fly across the screen just looks awesome, and it's so different every time. The green enemies, which are usually seen queuing at the top of the screen, seem a little boring at first, however they have a cool trick up their sleeve. Occasionally, one will decide to inflate, start flying around and shooting. If the player shoots this enemy, they'll be awarded with a power-up for a limited time. There are 3 available power-ups in the game. A shield, which protects the ship from damage. Rapid fire, which shoots much faster than normal. And a triple shot that fires 3 lasers at once. Pretty cool. Something else I want to talk about is the background. It's created with 2 components, a blue and purple gradient as the base, and moving stars on top. The stars are created when the game is first loaded, and each one is a small 2x3 pixel rectangle. When each star is generated, it's given a random colour between dark grey and white. This same random value is used to set the speed, so that the stars that are darker or further away move more slowly, creating a really nice parallax effect. Whenever a star reaches the bottom of the screen, it's reset to a new random position along the top, making the background appear dynamic and visually interesting. Additionally, as the player progresses further into the game, the stars move faster, increasing tension in the player and making the gameplay seem faster, even if everything else is still moving at the same speed. This game turned out to be more fun to play than I was expecting. There were moments that I was supposed to be working on it, but just got sucked into the gameplay. Here's what it looks like near the end of my best scoring game. That's just a quick overview of Astrobugs, and I'd just like to lastly give a big shout out to my brother for making the music and the enemy sprites. It definitely takes the game to the next level in presentation.